All right. Hello, everybody. Coming to you live from an abandoned farmhouse in the middle of the East Central Illinois, which somehow has power. I'm hosting this week. Got some special announcements. This is Jim, and I've got Janek here with me. Let me go bring him on. Hey, Janek, how's it going?
Hey, Jim. It's going well.
So it's Friday. That's a good thing. You got big plans for this weekend? Some modeling plans, maybe?
I was going through some of my old kits last night, and I found a bunch of MDC box cars that I haven't built yet, and I was like, I could probably build those in about 10 or 15 minutes each. So maybe I'll see how many I can do in a day. And it shouldn't be too hot, so it should be pretty nice weather for staying inside.
We're pretty warm too. I think, also too, I want to do a quick shout out to all of our folks that are experiencing the weather. Both we've got forest fires, we've got hurricanes. I hope all of our modelers out there are safe this weekend, and with that, hopefully we can concentrate on some fun modeling stuff. And it's not Tuesday, so why are we here? I think we've got some new stuff to show, don't we, Janek?
Something about monthly announcements, yeah.
Now let's see what we got here.
Just wanted to sort of show you guys what we got that's being announced. Yeah.
So this is impressive. Union Pacific DDA 40X. These were done before, but these weren't done. They were a while ago, right? It was like 2013 they were done.
Yeah, last run was in 2013 for these, and that was a regular Genesis run. And you guys will notice that these are now Genesis 2.0. And I don't know if you can zoom in on the fine print there, Jim, but they have all the Genesis 2.0 features now.
Let's zoom up a little bit because we've got more than just those three. Oh, okay. So this is going to have the new Genesis 2.0 upgrades then.
Yeah. Lit number boards, ground lights, dual cube speakers, lighted class lights.
Wow. So already an impressive locomotive, and I'm sure these did really well in 2013, but looking at what's been done here, not only have we added those features from the 2.0 Genesis, but a lot more work as far as what has been chosen for the era. A lot of folks, I think, only think of these as late 60s, early 70s. They ran up right up until about 1985, 86.
Yeah, the story was, and before we go too far, I want to say these are in the process of being put up on the website. So if you guys are going to go looking for these, they may or may not be there yet. What we were told is that they were going to be there, sometime this evening, I think, or maybe.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me. Yeah, that's right. It is so new that we have everything for the web. They're just uploading them now. So maybe even as early as the time we get off from our podcast here, they might be available for you to look at. Okay.
Cool. But to answer your question, UP got these. They ran the wheels off of them, and by most of the 1970s, they were out of service due to reliability issues. But then they got put back into service after that in the mid 80s, and they had a stint during a power shortage there. So it was sort of like a second coming for him.
Interesting. And so for those that may not be as familiar with this locomotive, this was the largest diesel ever produced by EMD. And essentially it's two diesel locomotives mated together. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's two GP40, which are slightly uprated in horsepower. And with it was at the time the experimental electrical systems that would later become the -2 systems, and that was all placed on a single frame.
Interesting. And as far as like freight, this was the first time we saw this type of cab too, isn't it, Janet?
Yeah, I think it was the basically from the F-45. They used basically the same cab design as they had on the cowl units. But yeah, wide cabs were pretty much not a thing at the time, so this was another unique feature.
So I guess what we can say really is we can say, thanks to EMD, we had a lot of technological advancements with this locomotive. We had basically the introduction of the wide cab, which we see a lot nowadays on mainline rails, and also the Dash 2 electronics.
Yeah, this was where it all started, or was with these units. So
that's pretty cool. So this locomotive was only used by the Union Pacific, but it was used for such a long span. And you can see in that picture there, it looks like they would couple them up to, what is that? Is an SD40-2?
Yeah, they would call them Centennial sandwiches. They would put an SD40-2, which had been geared for high-speed running, and they would put it between two Centennials to get the required horsepower.
That's pretty cool. So I actually had the opportunity to see one of these. There's one up in the Illinois Rail Museum up in Union, Illinois. And
nice.
Just a massive locomotive, and I can see and I can appreciate why they would go to the Dash 2 electronics. Now, one of the stories I had heard, and Janek, for those that don't know, Janek is the guy that makes sure everything is accurate on these paint schemes and such. So Janek is actually much more well versed than I am. But the story that I heard was when UP mechanics found out about these monsters, they said, "Hey, you know what? Before you wire one of these things up, we need something that's going to be a little bit easier to work on. We don't want to use the same technology as, say, a cowl unit from an F unit or something of that nature." And so that's really what was the start of the Dash 2 program, wasn't it?
Yeah, a lot of wiring that goes into something so big. So if you can simplify that, that would help a lot, I would expect. So Jim, I see that what we're showing right here is mostly, we got a couple early 1970s units, and then we have the 1980s version down there at the bottom.
Yeah, let's scroll down on that a little bit here. Let's see. I'm going to zoom out just a tad bit so we can get these all into view. All right. And what I'll do is I'll go ahead and zoom in there for you. So you were saying these are the later versions of the same model, correct?
Well, yeah, we got basically three different time periods that we're offering here. The top unit being a mid 1970s, and then in the middle, the 69, what is that, 6924? That's going to be sort of 1979, 1980 time period. And then the last one is of course, the 6936, which is the one which is still part of the UP roster. And I'll point out that one, we're offering it with the yellow sill stripe for the first time ever, which is how it looks currently.
Sure.
And then the other interesting thing, if you look at the 6924 up there on the cab, we have the air raid siren there, which was one of the experimental warning devices that UP was playing around with. They were trying out different kinds of lights and warning devices for track crews, and the siren was one of the devices they tried.
Interesting. I had heard of that.
And then you also notice on the 6918 there we got the dual strobes, which is another warning device they were testing out. So they basically, any kind of experimental thing they were working on, you could find it on these things. They were really test bed units in a lot of ways.
That's pretty interesting. So Janek, the story that I'd heard about these here, you were talking about with the air raid siren, did a little research on those. Really interesting. That was Federal Signal, who made air raid sirens. That particular one was a Thunderbolt. And if you've ever watched any of those Cold War era movies, if you heard the air raid siren, you were probably hearing that one. They made those sirens from about 52 to about 91, if I remember right. And of course, highly modified in this case.
Yeah, modified for clearance purposes, presumably. I think they flattened the bell out.
That's pretty interesting. I would think somebody would hear that, considering how loud those sirens were when they were operational.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about the Genesis 2.0. This is a big leap for Athearn. This is taken an existing model, but we're not just putting some new paint on it. This has really got some much more added features to it.
Yeah, well, so those of you who own one of these from the prior runs, what we have done with this run is we have updated all the electronics thoroughly. The prior runs actually had 2 Tsunami sound decoders, which you had one decoder controlling each motor and one decoder controlling each speaker. And what we've done now is we have simplified that to one Tsunami 2 decoder, which has the dual prime mover sound on it, which is going to the separate speakers. And we've also improved the lighting with lit number boards, lit class lights, and lit ground lights, and LEDs all around as well. So these never had LEDs until now.
Wow. Well, that is a great addition. I would probably venture to guess that even guys that aren't just modeling the UP would want one of these just because it's such a cool locomotive.
I want the one with the siren on it so that I can play tricks on my friends during an operating session.
Yeah, that's a good question. Now, since these are DCC and sound, and I'm assuming that they somehow got that sound effect in there as well.
With the Tsunami 2 decoder, there is an option for the alternate air horn, and we are working with Soundtracks to come up with the siren sound and have it on the alternate air horn. Jim, you probably know a little bit about sirens. They have different operational modes. Basically, there's like attack, and there's a growl, and there's different ways that the siren can sound, even from the same siren. But we're probably going to go with just the standard on-off with the wind up and the wind down, because I'm pretty sure that's what this one would have sounded like from what we've heard.
That is cool. I mean, this locomotive has, just some of the research that's been done into this specific locomotive, the things that both EMD and the Union Pacific did. It's amazing. The advancements that this locomotive brought on for what we have nowadays that we see all the time. When did this specific prototype come out? Was this like 69 or so? 69
was when these came out.
And like you said, they stayed in mainline freight action right up until the very end. We're talking mid-1980s or so?
1980s was when the last ones were retired for good, except for the 6936, of course.
Wow. Now there's a lot of work that's gone into these locomotives. And again, I think anybody that's a UP fan, they're going to want to take advantage of this run. Mm-hmm. Now, this order, you can go to your local hobby shop, and you have until, what is it? It's September 25th to place your orders on this, right?
Yeah, it's usually about 4 weeks after the announcement. So September 25th, I believe, it says up on the corner of the announcement sheet here.
Yeah. Yep, we've got the 25th. So, if you're a UP fan and you model anywhere between that time period, and even if you're not a UP fan, this is a locomotive that I think a lot of guys are going to want to have. This is one of those, must-have locomotives, kind of like the Big Boy. This would probably be like the Big Boy of the diesel era.
Yeah, definitely an iconic locomotive, and yes, it was specific to Union Pacific, but you could find especially in the later years, you could find them mixed in with other railroads' power. I have seen photos, so
That's really cool. I mean, this is again, this is one that you're going to want to order. You're going to want to get to your dealer and place your order, because I would hate to be the person that's been on the fence, and when they do come in stock, you might kick yourself for not grabbing one. So definitely, with all the advancements, all the improvements, and it's really a great idea that Athearn, that we've chosen to put the 2.0 into this specific locomotive. It's kind of
it deserves it, definitely.
yeah, it's appropriate. Exactly.
Yeah. So Jim, I know we showed that photo in the beginning of a fast 40 sandwich, as they called it. So what else do we have going on this month that might go with this centennial announcement here?
Yeah, let's see what else we've got. I know we've got more than just these centennials, as cool as they are. Let me take a look here. How about a Union Pacific CA9 Caboose?
That would definitely go with these.
That is really cool. Now, these are also Genesis. This isn't just your standard Caboose. This is a Genesis release.
Right.
This is based on the ICC Caboose.
Yeah, this is the second announcement of the Union Pacific ICC Cabooses. First release, we did the CA8 class. And in this second release, we are adding the CA9 class as well as more CA8s.
That is
here.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
We got quite a few different versions here.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, let me zoom in a little bit. And if you don't mind, maybe giving us a little bit of a virtual tour, if you will, of what we've got going on. We'll start with this top Caboose here. That's UP 25658. Now, this is one that would be, this was the era that they were doing the slogans. So what era would that be, Janek?
So the UP Cabooses, the CA9s and the 8s and the 10s as well, they always had slogans, but there were basically two versions, two main versions of the slogans. The earlier version being the square slogans, which is what you see in these first three pieces of artwork. And then the later versions being the rectangular slogans.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the P, that stands for pool service. Is that correct?
Yes. So these cabooses, and I don't know the dates off the top of my head. I think for the CA9 class, it was around 73. They were updated to pool service. They were given all the equipment needed to operate system-wide on the UP and in interchange with other railroads if necessary.
Okay.
So that's what that P designates, pool service, yes.
Sure. And I could tell we're definitely in the 70s. If we look, we've got the scan read placards that they did as an experiment roughly
right.
in the 70s. That really defines it.
So those top cabooses would be, I think, early 1970s for that particular look. The next one down, that green one, is an interesting car. It's a maintenance of way office car, and it's painted up in the standard UP sort of seafoam green that they were using for maintenance of way service cars. So that's actually a more modern era car. I think it lasted into the 2000s looking like that in service.
Okay. Interesting. And then you've got the later ones below that,
right,
also pool service.
Yeah, the later cabooses have the rectangular slogan boards on those. We got a couple slogans that we didn't offer in the past. I like the Red Hot and Rollin' one. That's an interesting one. And those are more late 1970s versions, mid to late 1970s, as far as the appearance of those.
Very cool. And since they are a Genesis release, what besides all of the great details that have been put on there that people expect from Athearn, what else do we get with the Genesis package?
So the Genesis Cabooses have two versions to them. They have a version with lights and a version with lights and sound. Both versions are equipped with a DCC decoder. And both versions have the end lights are controllable. So on the UP car, if you zoom in a little bit,
yeah,
you'll see the red and green lights there in the cupola. The red light is, of course, the red marker light, which would light up in the opposite direction the train was traveling. And the green light was an indicator light for opposing trains. When this train that the Caboose was attached to was clear on a siding. When they were pulled clear on the siding and the switches were aligned and locked, they would light the green light for the opposing train to let them know, hey, you guys are good to go.
Okay. And you've been able to capture this prototype setting with the DCC, correct?
Yes, both versions you'll have full control of those lights, so you can recreate that prototypical operation there.
Very cool. That is very cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
And of course, these are appropriate to go with the Centennial, you said.
Yes, absolutely.
So very appropriate. It's a great release to have. And putting the maintenance away Caboose in there, that's good too. Sometimes we forget about the non-freight or the non-revenue stuff. That was a good call too.
That's a little bit of a bone that we're throwing to the modern or the more modern era guys. And maintenance away stuff is really popular. From what I've seen some of those overland brass maintenance away trains, and they go for a lot. So this is another good maintenance away car.
This is another one of those cars that we could say is probably better than brass as far as the detail, but you don't have to spend that brass price.
And you don't have to install windows or lights or anything like that. Most brass cars didn't have windows, which that was always kind of annoying. So what else do we got this month other than these CA9 cabooses?
I'm thinking Friday's a good day to be a UP modeler. Let's see what else we've got here.
And of course, I'll say right now, you guys, we will go over this more in detail in the coming weeks. We just kind of wanted to show overall what's coming so you can be prepared for it.
So it looks like we're going to be offering some CA8 cabooses as well.
Yeah.
And these have also got the slogan. Looks like we've got two different eras here.
Yeah, so we announced the CA8s in TrainFest last year in November. And they sold like hotcakes. And they were gone so quickly that we had some people calling us and saying, hey, guys, I want to get one of these and I can't. And we're like, yeah, sorry. They're gone. So we said, all right, let's just do some more CA8s. But UP had so many slogans, especially the rectangular slogans. I don't know the exact number, but it was probably more than 40 slogans that they had. Wow. So we're doing 3 slogans on here that we did not do in the last run. Same with the earlier slogan cars. That's slogans that we have not done in the last run. So
okay.
If you missed out on that run or you want to add to it, then here's your chance.
Folks, I do apologize if it seems a little bit choppy. Both Janek and I are working from home thanks to the conditions with the pandemic. So sometimes our computers are not up to what you folks are used to. So I appreciate your patience, but wanted to zoom in on the first 3 here. These look like they'd be appropriate for 1980s modeling.
These are mid 1970s and up.
Oh, okay.
cars
All right.
with the rectangular slogans. I don't have the book in front of me. There's a nice UP Caboose book that we've been using, and it tells you all you want to know about these slogans and how they came to pass and all that.
I had read somewhere that these were, nowadays a lot of things are applied with a vinyl sticker. These were actually something that was bolted to the side of the car body. Is that correct?
I don't know if they were bolted on there. I have seen photos of the same road number car with different slogan boards. So they were swappable, and some cars ended up having 3 or 4 different slogans over the course of their lives. So that was pretty interesting.
Interesting. And then, of course, we've got some early 70s and some 1960s variants down here.
So those bottom 2 are basically the as-delivered paint scheme for the CA8 cabooses. And then you'll notice that the one with the P on it with the small slogan is more of an intern paint scheme. It was after it was modified for pool service, but before it got the rectangular slogans. So that would be the early 1970s for that one.
Okay. So really, as far as cabooses, there's from 60s on to the time they stopped using cabooses, you're pretty much covered if you're a UP fan.
Yes, because these were in service for up until the end of caboose operations. So.
Wow, that's cool. And these, of course, too, these are also Genesis as well.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, let's see see what else we've got here. We're going to zoom out a little bit and see if my there we go. And hey.
Oh, look at that.
We were just talking about these.
We were just talking about fast 40s and fast 40 sandwiches. Well, it looks like you'll be able to make your own fast 40 sandwich.
Wow.
This release.
Now, one thing that I see that they all have in common is, of course, they're all SD40-2s. They're all Union Pacific, but they don't all quite look the same. So I'm thinking that we've got some different eras here.
That's true. I'll point out the first 2 units there are going to be contemporary paint schemes, and I actually photographed the 1574 over at Colton a couple of years ago, and it was working a trim set. So. And then the 1923 is a really neat unit because it has the baby wings.
Oh, yeah.
Those there, as well as the remote control strobes on the cab roof. And those will be operational on the DCC sound model.
Oh, that's cool.
Really neat unit. Yeah.
Yeah, that is very cool. And then you've got these 2 here.
As for the other 2 units there, well, I think there's more than 2. If you go down to the list there, there's actually 4 road numbers there of the 8000 class. And the 8000 class, those were the fast 40s. And you got 2 different paint schemes there too. You got the earlier version with the "We Can Handle It" on the cab, the small Union Pacific lettering, and then you got the later version with the larger lettering and the shield on the cab.
Okay. And now these 2, a little bit different too. This is what a lot of rail fans call a snoot nose, isn't that right?
Yes, that's true. So these have the extended nose on them, which was to house additional radio control gear that they were testing out on these. And
so again, you've really got all eras, as far as coverage. So you have the potential as a UP modeler to have a really cool lash up.
Yeah, you could get your Paracentennials, throw a fast 40 in the middle there, and you even got your caboose, and it's all in this announcement here.
Wow, these are really cool. Now these are part of the ready to roll. Mm-hmm. Still a lot of great detail. Yes. Really good price for a locomotive with DCC and in some cases sound. And the nice thing is what's been picked here is really a great range of time periods and locomotives that can be used on a layout. You really, there's not too many other places you can go. You've pretty much got it all covered here.
Absolutely. You talk about Union Pacific SD40-2s, you could be talking about 10 different locomotives. So,
wow. Now, one thing I did want to ask too, are these what I would call a pure Union Pacific? They're not from some of the roads that they have taken over the years. These are as delivered UP, or how did you guys go about on the decorating of these units?
yeah, so all of the Fast 40s, and as it turns out, the other 2 units as well, I believe those are all original Union Pacific or owned locomotives.
Okay.
And like you said, the RTR model, it's at a really nice balance between price and detail. It's a great value. It's not a Genesis 2.0 level model, but it has enough detail in it to make it look really nice. As you can see in the artwork depictions there, I mean, we've got most of the rooftop details taken care of. We got the pilot details, and we got edged mirrors. We got all the grab irons, so it makes a really nice looking unit.
No, it's really well done. I'm really excited to see these releases. It's been covered well, but
yeah.
Now we've really given the UP guys something to think about today. We don't want to leave anybody else out, so we still got more SD40-2s. We'll go through these. Janek, you've been busy. Man, what do we got here?
We have been busy. What we got here is a quartet of Genesee and Wyoming conglomerate SD40-2s. So as you know, Genesee and Wyoming, they are a huge company, and they own many different short line railroads, not just in the United States. They also have railroads in Australia, for example. So they are really a worldwide company. And the Rapid City Pier in Eastern is a Class 2, and they run mostly in South Dakota and Minnesota. And then the Arizona and California, I mean, where do you think they run?
Well, I'm going to assume probably one or both of those states, Arizona and California.
Yes. So, no, but we thought it'd be neat to offer these units, especially since Genesee and Wyoming, they sometimes will move locomotives around between railroads. So you might see an Arizona and California unit working on another Genesee and Wyoming railroad. So you may model California Northern or one of the other railroads, and they swap locomotives around. So
interesting. Now they are. I know here in Illinois and even back east, I'll see these guys. They have a unified paint scheme, but then they usually keep the name of the railroad that they've purchased. And it's
yes.
Like you said, it's kind of neat. You can sometimes see something that's quote unquote foreign power on your line. So
yes,
and
absolutely.
while the paint schemes are similar, that doesn't always go for the locomotive itself, even if it's an SD40-2. Once again, you guys were busy because there's detail-specific things to these locomotives. It's not just the same locomotive painted in the same scheme.
Yeah, that's true. These 2 units actually came from Union Pacific, and they are late production units with the Q fans and the bulges on the dynamic brake hatch. Those did come from the Pacific originally.
Very cool. Let's see what else. Hey, here we go. This is something that I get to see occasionally, even here in Central Illinois. Not too often, but we got a couple of Canadian Pacific offerings.
Yeah, the dual flag scheme is always one of my favorites. These units here are ex-Sioux line. So they do not have dynamic brakes. They are a 1990s and up era Canadian Pacific locomotive. In the dual flag scheme, basically a fresh repaint from Sioux Line with the kick plates there, as you can see on the left side of the front of the cabin.
Okay.
Dual flag scheme. These have the strobe lights, operating strobe lights, and front ditch lights on these. And yeah, really nice looking units for some variety if you're modeling CP, basically up till the 2010s. So.
Very cool. Yeah, definitely an eye-catching scheme. It's a nice scheme. I always like the dual flag logo to myself. I always thought that was a really cool setup. Let's see. Next, we've got. Oh, these look interesting.
Yeah, here's something a little different for you. I forget when I first saw one of those pictures of the new Faramex paint scheme, but I said, "Dang, that looks good." I have no connection or interest in Faramex personally, but as soon as I saw that, I was like, "Wow, that looks sharp."
Yeah,
you should do that. When I went to start researching these, I found that a few of them had been repainted, but a lot of them still were in the former NDM scheme, which is the two-tone blue with orange. So if you want to make a prototypical flash up of these things, you're going to need both paint schemes, and that's why we're offering both paint schemes.
Yeah, that's very cool. You've got a lot of different you've got the two versions, and you've got them. So, like you said, you can do a lash up, and it's totally prototypical. So,
yeah, they don't all get painted on the same day.
Yeah, and it's a road you don't see a lot of manufacturers doing. I mean, there have been manufacturers who've done them, but it's kind of neat to get a common locomotive and giving some of those lines some love. That's really cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this looks somewhat familiar to the older guys in my area. We've got some Burlington Northern SD40-2s in the white face.
Yeah, really the white face is an interesting scheme because not all the BN units received it because it was one of the last paint schemes they had right before they went to the green and cream. And you'll notice that on the 7812 there, that's a very unique version of it because they actually have the big BN logo with Burlington Northern spelled out on the side. I think 2 units like that.
That is interesting.
I thought that was cool. The other cool thing about that unit is that it has the strobe style ditch lights, which is what they started using, I think, in the late 1980s.
I heard about those. Yeah, that is. I think there's some actual video of that on YouTube somewhere. Somebody in Chicago caught one of those, and it's different. I mean, we're used to what is it, NS and CSX that have the alternating flashing ditch lights when they come to a grade crossing. These are, like you said, the flashers, and it's same technique, if you will, but it's a totally different approach to it. It's rather interesting.
Yeah, those were also found on SD60Ms, both 2 and 3 window cabs, and they weren't around for too long. I guess they weren't that successful because they started being replaced with regular ditch lights, like you see on the 7802 there.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's very cool. It's another one of those locomotives. I mean, we're looking at. We're saying 1990s plus, so yes. A lot of these probably lasted into the BNSF era, probably within the same color scheme, isn't that right?
Yeah, since they've been painted in the late 80s, early 90s, there was no reason to repaint them so soon. And I think I saw photos of the 7812. It was up in the same scheme up until the 2000s, at least.
Wow, so this would be a great model for BN fans of that era, all the way up into early BNSF. And you know, if any of you out there remember the early days of BNSF, it was just a rainbow of colors coming down the main line. I remember seeing all kinds of different things. They were so power starved in the late 90s, early 2000s. So definitely one of the most popular locomotives at Burlington Northern had, and I really like this scheme that you chose here. That's a rather unique scheme for that era.
Yeah, it's a shame that they didn't go with that as one of their main paint schemes, because I do like that scheme.
And since this is a -2, this would be a original Burlington Northern Order. This is much newer than the predecessor roads that made up the Burlington Northern.
Yes.
Very nice. It looks like we've got some more. Now, here's something. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know a lot about this line, much at all. So you've done the research. Tell us a little bit about these units. These are great.
I'm sure going to butcher the pronunciation, but I think it's Oneida and Western. And it was I think it was Shamrock Coal, and it was basically they made up their own railroad to run shuttle coal trains from a mine to the power plant. And for the power, they went with SD40-2s, which were part of a Louisville and Nashville order that was being built at the same time. So you'll see these have some interesting L&N style features, like the bell up there on the fireman's side right behind the DB.
Yeah.
The standard EMD style nose headlight with a gyrolight between the number boards.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So these were built to L&N standards, but they weren't originally L&N locomotives.
No, they were built at the same time with the same specifications.
Wow.
That was to save time, basically.
Really cool. Yeah, that is a paint scheme you don't see on a locomotive too often.
Yeah, it's a nice looking paint scheme.
That is really cool.
And for those of you looking for the cars to go with those, we are planning to do them pretty soon here, because they had bathtub coal gondolas that they would pull those with.
Now, here's a road that we should hear about every day. This is the Athearn Road. This is you had some fun with this one.
Yeah, we did.
Tell us a little bit about this. We're coming up to an anniversary here soon, so you wanted to give it a splash. Tell us a little bit about this locomotive.
Yeah, there was a little bit of discussion about when the start of Athearn actually was. Depending on who you ask, there's a few different years that we heard. But since we celebrated our, I think it was our 60th or 65th anniversary, we based it off of that year and decided to celebrate our 75th anniversary in 2022. Well, okay, it's still 2020. What are we doing announcing this thing right now? Well, hopefully these will arrive in time for the 2022 anniversary, and we'll be able to celebrate that a little bit before it and after it as well. So.
The nice thing about this locomotive, like you said, we're announcing it now. Our ETA on this is next August. Mm-hmm. So that gives you plenty of time to get into your dealer and place an order, be ready by next fall, and start running your anniversary train. So
absolutely,
great timing. All right.
So before we wrap this up, I did want to say I saw a comment too. You'll notice that on the SKU numbers here, we put a G there, and that was by accident. These are not Genesis. These are still RTR. The SKU number does have a G there. From what you're seeing here, we're going to get that fixed. So it should not be there. Sorry about that, guys.
Yeah.
We all missed that one.
It happens. Definitely happens. I mean, we have got a lot going on, and we want to keep making all the great stuff for you guys to enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. So here's some nice pictures of the locomotives, and once again, this to go to show you. I mean, years ago, you just bought a generic locomotive, and it was painted the road that you modeled, and that was it. That's not the case anymore.
Right.
We go ahead, we do the research. We spend a lot of time. A lot of folks want to know why it takes so long to do a locomotive, and a lot of it's research, isn't it, Janek?
A lot of it's research, finding the photos, finding the right photos, and then putting it all together. to make something that is coherent, because an engine in 1980 may look totally different than it looked in 1972. So,
that is true.
that's
As
something.
technology, we've seen that even with the Dash Nines. You know, our latest
Yes.
announcement from last month. You can have the Dash 9 from the first order look totally different than the Dash 9 you might see today, just based on what's on the cab, just the electronics that they're using nowadays.
Very true. Yeah.
We're getting into some freight cars here. We've got some.
We can breeze through the. Like I said, we'll go over this more in detail in the coming weeks. But we got another run of the Genesis 20K tank cars. This is the GATX tank car, which was built at the Sharon, Pennsylvania plant. It's a 20,000 gallon car, and they were built starting in the 1970s, and they were in service. Some of them are still in service. So it's a nice car for 70s and up modelers, and we got some old favorites here, and we got some new ones as well.
Really cool. So we're looking for those. You know, we do watch the comments, we watch emails and stuff, and again, we're always on the lookout to find what you guys are looking to model. And this is just another one of those great fits. This will work for a lot of different modelers.
Yeah, true that.
All right, and of course, you know, I'd be remiss in not saying we've got some in here that are the Prime for Grime, which have been extremely popular and, you know, very prototypical of what we see when we rail fan or just on a daily basis. I mean, that's very common now.
Yeah, those cars get beat up in service, and we're giving you a head start with the Prime for Grime.
This is interesting. We've got some Gunderson Maxi 3 5-unit well cars that are coming out, but these are late 90s, it looks like, right?
Most of these are going to be 1990s and up era. Being that they're 48-footers, the 48-foot containers had a very definite time period that they came and went. And a lot of these cars end up getting rebuilt later in their lives. But they're great for 1990s and 2000s, and even into the 2010s. In fact, I think I've seen a couple BNSF 48-footers once in a while, so they are still out there.
Wow. And again, these would be totally appropriate for the SD40-2s we talked about earlier.
Yep. Well, we got the Ferromex right there. So, I mean, there's...
Yeah, you're right. We do. We got Ferromex. We got the Burlington Northern, that red and blue scheme they used back then.
Yeah, we got the BN. Go with the BN. And the TTX, that, of course, goes with anything. So...
You know, what's cool, too, is there's two different types of TTX. You've got your, I guess you'd say your original from the 90s. We've all seen a lot of these. And then from 2005 onward, they kind of changed their logo. We've got a red logo that's a little bit without the black background. So, again, there's all kinds of different eras that you can choose from to make a really nice unit train.
Definitely.
Now we've got some rapid discharge hoppers. This is again under the Athearn ready to roll, and looks like we've got a pretty good selection here.
Yeah, SP and California Northern guys are going to want to pay attention. We are doing the sugar beet service cars. Most of you think of this as a coal car, and you wouldn't be wrong, but Holly Sugar had several of these cars which were in sugar beet service, running in dedicated trains in Northern California. They were handled by the Southern Pacific and the California Northern. And we did our research, we looked at videos, we looked at photos, and what we're offering here is actually, I think, 4 or 5 different sugar beet service cars.
Wow. And that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's something we really haven't focused on in the past, is it?
This is the first time that we're doing any of the sugar beet cars. A couple of things to point out. They will come with etched metal side extensions, which were installed on the prototypes so they could carry more. We do not currently have a sugar beet load. So they will include the coal load, which is going to be painted tan color. And what you're going to want to do probably is sort of use that as a base to make your own sugar beet load.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. And it just sounds like there was a lot of research that went into this particular project.
Yeah. And I think for the coal cars, you have the Energy Development Coal, you got South Mississippi Electric Power, Omaha Public Power. I think those are new paint schemes for us as well.
Very cool. Very cool.
And all the details are down there in the text. We'll go over it more.
Yeah, definitely. We just kind of want to give you all a kind of rundown of what to expect. And like Janet said, we'll return on Train Tuesday and talk about a lot of these in depth.
Yeah.
Now,
so run of the Roundhouse PS 2003, we got singles, we got 3-packs, and we got different paint schemes between those in some cases as well.
Very cool. We've got some Chessie. I know that's going to make some Chessie guys happy. Chessie seems to have a really good following. The Chicago Northwestern, that's cool. We're offering it in the essentially 3 different paints.
Any color you like, yeah.
Very cool. And let's see. Well, the intermodal guys will be happy, right?
Someone earlier was asking for more yard tractors. So there you go. We got some railroad-specific yard tractors. We also have some generic ones. We got a hybrid tractor, and we also got some owner-operator tractors, which are generic, and they could go pretty much anywhere.
Well, these are cool. You're gonna definitely, the intermodal guys are gonna want this because these are basically the truck version of a yard goat, aren't they?
Yeah, like the road version of a switcher is a good analogy. But you see them out on the road too for short distances. I see them a lot around here. So
very cool. Well, that looks like we've covered all the new things for September. That's a lot going on this month. I'm really excited. We got some great stuff coming out.
Definitely, and I look forward to going over it in more detail in the coming weeks. And like we said, check the website over the weekend. You should see the information and the photos, not the photos, the artwork, start to go up there over the weekend, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Janek, we're about a few minutes out. Do we want to answer some questions?
Yeah, we can take about 8 minutes here and field a couple of questions. I saw one, I'll just answer it off the top. Someone was asking if the Centennials are going to have spinning roller bearing caps. Well, no, they're not, because on the prototypes, there was no spinning bearing cap to see. It was behind, it wasn't visible. So there would be nothing to replicate in model form anyways.
Good question, and yeah, really cool. Let's see, kind of looking through here real quick and see. Got some. Now here's a good one I'll show.
All right.
Jeremy said it's Friday. I need to call my local hobby shop, which is 40 miles north, before they close today. Yes, Jeremy, you need to call them now. Don't forget too, the Dash 9s that we talked about last month. Deadline is approaching. You're going to want to, if not today, you're going to want to do it this weekend. And let's think about this for a second. I mean, the Dash 9 really is, if you think about it, kind of the road switcher that the Jeep 9s were in their era. I mean, the Dash 9 is all over the place, even now. So we've got all kinds of different variations of that locomotive. You're not going to want to miss that one. A lot of work has gone into that. And myself, it's not even my era, but since I first moved out here during the beginning of the BNSF, I have a soft spot for the Dash 9, especially in that Heritage 1. That's a cool paint scheme.
Yeah, and I have seen one of the BC rail units somewhere around here when I was going to college. It was on a BNSF train, and I was like, what the heck is that thing doing here? But they do get around. So.
They definitely do. I mean, so, yeah, get in touch with your dealer, and they'll be more than happy to order you one of those. I don't think you're going to be disappointed at all. This is going to be a huge, huge release, and you don't want to miss out on that. And of course, with everything that's going on this month, there's definitely stuff that I know I want. How about you, Janek?
I'm probably going to end up picking up the Ferromex units for no other reason than I just like them. I have no business owning them, but yeah.
That's the fun thing about being modelers. You know, we all say we model a specific prototype or a specific time, but how many times have we bought something based on a really cool paint scheme, or it's just a cool prototype? Again, going back to the Centennial. I mean, who wouldn't think that's a cool locomotive? I mean, it's just amazing the amount of engineering that went into that locomotive.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's see. See any other comments out there that stick out for you, Janek?
Well, let's see. We got a lot of suggestions as usual, which is great, and we do read all the suggestions. We got some people asking about when is XYZ product coming. Your best source for that will be the website. Go on there and find the product, and there should be a delivery date there, and we try to keep that up to date. I see some people asking about the big boys, sound samples, etc. I did receive some samples of those. I will see about maybe shooting a quick video down at the club and show those off to you guys.
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, I know you sent some pictures earlier that we used on our Facebook page, and that's amazing. There's some great modeling going on out there. Here's one comment that I can identify with. It's white-faced BN, I'm in trouble. Yeah, I am too, especially when my wife finds out. Let's see. And again, we're seeing a lot of comments and suggestions. We do look at these, and we do appreciate all the comments and things that you have to say. We're always working on something. I mean, Janek and Matt too, they're busy, not just thinking about next month's release, but stuff that's going down the road. So, yeah, anything that you can hint at, Janek, that's coming, or you guys trying to keep that quiet right now?
Oh, we're always working on new stuff. Like Matt said, I think in our last video, our next big announcement is going to come November, and that'll be our next big announcement for 2020. And it's something that I have been hearing lots of requests for. So I think a lot of people are going to be happy when that one comes out. I'm not at liberty to talk about it other than that. Just know that it's coming in November.
There you go. So again, you know, keep your eyes on the Facebook page. Keep your eyes on our website, and of course, keep your eyes tuned here. Every Tuesday, we will come out with new videos, carrying on what's been happening in the past. One last question, and then we'll let you guys enjoy your weekend. This one I think is right for you. On the new Genesis rolling stock going forward, will you be incorporating semi-skilled draft gear with key details? That's from David. What do you have to say about that?
So I have seen that comment from some others as well. So thank you for the question. And I have seen other manufacturers recently start to put that feature on their freight cars. I honestly, personally have mixed feelings about it. I think they look phenomenal. They really make a big difference as far as the look of the model is concerned. I have hesitations as far as compatibility with certain different kinds of couplers, as well as possibly the turn radius, the swing radius of the couplers. When you have a narrower draft gearbox, you have less space to work with. It restricts what you can use in there. Now, I'm not saying no. I'm saying I want to look into it. I need to do more research. I'll talk to Matt about it. And yeah, I think it's something that we're going to look into. Maybe not for the Genesis cars that we already have, but for the ones going forward.
Great. Well, great. We had a lot of ground to cover today. There's a lot of neat stuff. Janek, thanks for joining us today. I do appreciate it. And
no problem.
Have a great weekend, guys. Everybody out there, thanks for tuning in today, and join us again on Tuesday. We're going to go a little bit more in depth because trust me, Janek has been doing research on these centennials. I think you're an expert on the centennials now, aren't you?
Well, one thing I've learned in this job is there's always someone that knows more than you do. So.
That is true. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great weekend. Do some modeling if you can. Stay safe, be healthy, and we'll catch you next time. Hi, Greens, everybody.
Stay safe. We'll see you.